GMs for Hire.
Welcome back, everybody, to GMs for Hire. My name is Will Polson, alongside with Matt today, and we have a special guest, Cassidy Davis, a softball player for Florida State University. Cassidy, how you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for coming on. We appreciate having you. Tell you what, for anybody who doesn't know about Cassidy Davis, this is a girl who has won at every level. I mean, she has been absolutely dominant throughout her softball career, whether it be at the high school level, now over to the collegiate level. So let's just jump right into it. Saw on your max preps, you were batting .315 at your college or in your high school career. Ended your high school career with a 1.12 ERA. I mean, you were electric. Did you ever notice you were that dominant? Did you know your stats were that good, or did you just did you not pay too much attention to it in high school?
I've never really been a big stat scout. My dad was. He still is. So I know my stats for the most part, but it's usually because he tells me, not because I go look at them. I think my senior year, after we won states and all that stuff, we kind of became more like known, and we got like newspaper interviews and all that kind of stuff. So I definitely had more of an idea, but yeah, no, did not know that I did that well.
Yeah, .315 career batting average in high school with 8 home runs, 20 extra base hits, 47 RBIs. I mean, I've got it all right here. It's ridiculous. It's nuts. Held opponents to 175 batting average in the circle. I mean, you were just electric. The coolest one is 236 Ks to 65 walks. I mean, you want to talk about dominance. You were ridiculous out there during high school.
Thank you.
Which makes me wonder, how early into your high school career were you getting offers? Like, how quick was it taking for teams to start reaching out?
So my recruiting story was actually a little bit different than most. So I kind of went through 2 rounds of it. The first one was it was still a lot of D1 schools, but a lot of mid-majors. So I went to some camps. My dream school was actually Florida, not Florida State. So I went to camps at Florida. I went to camps at Florida State, like all the Florida schools, UCF, USF. A lot of times they bring in other coaches too. So I kind of got a lot of different exposures. But first time around recruiting, all those big schools kind of said no. And I went to some different schools, took some the SAT and the ACT pretty early to get some test scores. So I actually got some Ivy League school offers, which was kind of cool. So Yale and Colgate and some of those up there offered. And then I got some smaller schools up in the Carolinas, the Southeast. And I actually ended up committing to Mercer University in Georgia. And then the following year was the year that we won states in high school. So my junior year, I committed the fall of my junior year, I think in November. So in that year we won states, and then my travel ball team won nationals that summer. And it was this whole crazy thing. We lost, and then we won 12 games in a row or something. It was ridiculous to win the whole thing. And I pitched both championship games. So it was kind of brought back some interest. I'm a late bloomer, so to speak. I kind of grew into my softball ability and stuff. So I started throwing harder, got more power in my swing and all that kind of stuff. So then that fall, a couple schools came back, and a lot of them were dream schools, including Florida State. So then I decided to decommit from Mercer just to kind of see what was out there, especially since some of my dream schools had come back. And yeah, I took visits to Florida State and Alabama, and then I ended up here. So that was
wins at every level.
Yeah. So
I didn't know you were out there winning national championships for the Mustangs too, and your travel ball team.
Yeah, it was pretty insane. That summer was legit. We traveled all over, went to Chicago, Colorado, Atlanta, and then I think nationals were in California. So we were all over the place. It was insane.
Man. The big thing out in our area, especially at our high school, that was, for anybody who doesn't know, Cassidy and I went to the same high school, was the Fab Five of the softball team. The 5 girls that all went Division 1A. Tell me a little bit about them. I know that you grew up playing softball with them all around the same area, all getting to be on the same high school team. And I mean, you all went your separate ways, but everybody going Division 1. So just talk about that team a little bit and what the success was like, and just how much fun you guys had as part of that team.
Yeah, so the Fab Five, we all played together since we were like 9, I think. And so we played together for the longest time, and then we all ended up at high school together. So it was just really fun because we were super successful together, but it was just fun because like we got to do it together. So we played together for what, almost 10 years, 10 years, yeah. So it was just like cool that we all had the same dream and we all got it in different ways. So like I went to Florida State, Brooke went to USF, Annie ended up at Yale, which is insane. And then Hannah went to Duke, and then Claire went to Utah. So then it was cool too because in like our freshman year, sophomore, all that kind of stuff, we got to like root each other on at the same time too, while we were still all going and doing our own things. So it's been kind of cool just keeping tabs on them and seeing all the cool things that we've all kind of done throughout the years.
That's awesome. Like you said, junior year ended up winning the state championship for high school at Newsom High School over Coral Reef. 5-1 victory. You ended up hitting you took somebody yard in that game, ended up with 3 RBIs. Just take us a little bit through the championship game. What was that moment like?
That whole weekend was crazy. That's one of the things I do remember about high school. I can't believe it's 5 years ago. Or I guess that would be 6 because it was a junior year.
Mhm.
But I think that like the year before we like our winning percentage was like 500 or something.
Mhm.
And we had so much talent and it just didn't come together. So then like that next year we got some new coaching, all this kind of stuff. And so it all just kind of went together and we won districts for the first time in years. And I don't think any Newsom team had ever made it to a state championships. Like we get there and there's cameras and the Bright House Sports Network and all this kind of stuff. And we got like this little swag bag and we're like, what is going on? And so then after we won the semifinals and then Coach Dunn told me I was pitching and I'm like, okay, all right, let's do this. There was like commercial breaks and all of this stuff. Like I had to wait 2 minutes in between the innings and all these things, which I mean, like I'm used to now from playing for Florida State, but it's just thinking about it, like when I was 16 is so weird. And it's actually funny too, because one of the girls on Coral Reef that year, the third baseman, ended up being my teammate at Florida State before I even knew that I was coming here. So yeah, the third baseman was Carson Gordon, and it's funny because she hit a double off me. I threw her a changeup. It's like one of the only pitches that like I remember from that game because she just like smacked it off the wall. And then when I hit that home run, there's a picture of me rounding third base, and I'm like all smiles, whatever, and she's just like. And so it's funny. I found it like 2 years into my college career, and I'm like, this is hilarious. But yeah, just everything about winning that was crazy. And then my dad was the assistant coach, and he did the whole sprinkles are for winners thing with the Progressive commercial. And then Progressive like found out about it and contacted us. So they like did this little like mini video thing about it, and they sent us like I still have a T-shirt that says sprinkles are for winners. They sent us like a bunch of little like stuff, so it was ridiculous.
I'm learning new stuff about it. I remember, I tell you what, it seemed like, especially at Newsom, everybody knew everything about the softball program junior year, just because it was the big thing. I mean, everybody knew the softball team was special, and y'all really put something together, obviously winning it all, which is crazy. And then you even got to take the next step into some personal accolades. You ended up winning the Hillsborough County Player of the Year.
Mhm.
What was that like? Is that a special ceremony to where they did it at the school? Is that something that is special somewhere else? Like what is it like receiving that award? Do you still have that award, or is it kind of like is that really just something they write in the paper and they're like, hey, congrats, you got this?
So they do like a spring sports awards ceremony. I don't remember the actual building. It's down in Tampa. It's like at the Board of Education or one of those buildings. I just can't remember the exact name of it. We had been there before because we had won the it's like the softball team with the highest GPA for the spring, whatever gets an award too. And so we had been there before for that. And so our whole senior class, because I think I got it my senior year, like before the season started or something. And so the whole senior class was like, hey, we have this GPA award, like Dunn wants us to go with her to go get it. And so I'm like, okay. And the whole time we're going, I'm like, because we have to like dress nice for it and everything. I'm like, I'm gonna dress, Like I have makeup on, my hair is down. I'm like, why do we have to go to this? Blah, blah, blah. So like we sit down and I like realize that there's not like as many people as there normally are. And I'm like, what's going on? And they start doing like these individual awards for like golf and basketball and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, what the heck? And then they start bringing about the softball award. And I'm like, wait, those are my stats. I'm like, wait, that's me. And so it was a total surprise to me. It was like the whole thing was a surprise. And so I go up to get my plaque and I turn around, like my parents are in the back of the room. So like it was this whole big surprise that everyone like did on me that I had no idea. I do still have the plaque. It's a little plaque with like a little softball picture on it. It has my name on it and everything. It's still at home in Belrico. So I do still have it.
That's cool that they surprised you like that.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea. It was the funniest thing.
They didn't reach out to you and let you know you won an award or nothing.
I guess they contacted Dunn, that would be my guess, the coach, and they were
Yeah.
like, hey, she won this. Or maybe they contacted our AD, maybe they contacted Lindstrom. I have no idea. Then, of course, on the way home, they're like, you complained this whole time, and we were just going for you. I was like, sorry, guys.
Yeah, well,
My bad.
hey, it all works
My
out.
bad.
So you mentioned a little bit about why you picked Florida State. Obviously, you had plenty of offers. It was really your decision. So really, what was it specifically about Florida State that made you want to go there?
I mean, just like out of the schools that I visited and the places I had been, there's just something different here. The way that it's Coach Alameda, but we call her Coacha. Just the way that Coacha runs the program and the way that she doesn't just teach us on the field, where like the person I was 5 years ago is not even close to just like the woman I am right now. And I think that Coacha and the coaching staff have played a big role in that. So that was something that was big for me, is just like I wanted that, not so much of a transactional program, more like transformational. I wanted someone that was going to put in the time for me off the field, even if I wasn't necessarily performing on the field the way that I thought I should, which is a big thing here. And then I think too, just we have a really big family atmosphere here. So like, well, I mean, pre-COVID, we would have like cookouts at Coach's house or like movie nights and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, off the field, we are like a really close-knit group of people. And coming on my visits, you could pretty clearly see that. So I think that was one of the biggest things for me too. I'm super close with my family. So seeing that on the field kind of made me feel like it's a second home for me.
Awesome. Matt?
So from dominance in high school to dominance on the travel ball field, you joined one of the most dominant softball programs in history. The FSU's made every regional since 2000, and you've been a two-way player thus far into this year. Do you feel like there's any extra pressure being a two-way player? Kind of feel like you're working two jobs on the field? Do you think there's any added pressure, or are you cool with it?
I definitely think there was when like my first few years, just because not a lot of people do all this stuff. Like not a lot of people are two-way players. So I definitely think my first few years I felt the pressure and kind of felt like I had to prove myself a little bit. Definitely as I've gotten older and kind of like found my little niche, I guess, on the team and like what I do best. Definitely a lot less pressure. I just feel like, one, I'm a lot more comfortable with myself, and then two, I know that my entire identity isn't in softball, so it takes a little bit more pressure off, if that makes sense. So if I go 0 for 0 today, or if I give up a bomb or something, it's not the end of the world. And a couple of years ago, it was the end of the world. So I think just kind of growing up too, and kind of like I said with Coach, like she's really big on really developing us as people and stuff. So I think just kind of as I've grown up through the program, the pressure has come off just because I've grown a lot since I've been here.
Yeah, and speaking of that 2018 season, of course, where you guys were the national champions, won the first Women's College World Series in the school's history. You were a fantastic two-way player. You started 37 games. You hit 6 home runs at the plate, and then you go to the circle, 34 innings, a 1.85 ERA, which is absolutely fantastic. Tell us a little bit about that experience going to the College World Series.
It was funny. So like the first time we got on the field, I just had this like flashback of when I was a little kid. And because I mean, that's where every college player like dreams to play. There's no mean, there is pro softball afterwards, but like college softball is like the big game.
Right.
So I mean, pro softball is starting to grow and it's been super cool. But like for most kids, like when you think of the pinnacle of softball, it's the World Series. So, you know, like walking on the field for that first game against UCLA, like I used to remember being a little kid and I would lay on the floor in my living room because it was too far from the TV to sit on the couch. I would just sit there and just stare at all of these players I just idolized. And so like the fact that I was now that player and like kids were looking at me, it was just kind of like this whole like full circle moment. And it was really cool. And then obviously like I didn't start, or I may have started a couple games or two, but I didn't start every game. So like my first at bat at the World Series, and then like I came in to pitch against UCLA, and I'm like, holy cow, I'm pitching against UCLA. Like I'm throwing to Rachel Garcia, she's the National Player of the Year. Like holy crap! So like it was just cool to have like all these different moments to look back on, and like looking back on me and one of the our catchers, Anna Shellnut, we were going through some videos a couple days ago. And like just even watching it like now 3 years later, like all the feels come back, and it was just one of the best experiences I've ever had, and hopefully we'll go back this year, but by far highlight of my college career.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. Hopefully you guys are back this year. Speaking of this year, you guys are off to a 7-3 start. Very good. You've gotten to play in all 10 games thus far as a hitter, and you hit your 25th career FSU homer against Georgia Tech back on the 19th. You're actually one away from being tied for 10th in program history, so that's pretty cool.
I don't know that.
Yeah.
There you go.
You're telling me new things about myself.
Your dad might know, but yeah.
Probably. I'm sure I could ask my dad and he would know everything about it.
But you have no pitching appearances so far this season. So I was wondering, are they only using you as a hitter now, or do you intend to get back in the circle?
Yeah, so I'm primarily hitting this year, playing some outfield. With the whole COVID thing and the red shirting and stuff, we have a pretty deep pitching staff right now. And so my role was primarily as a closer. So I wasn't really starting a whole lot of games. It was more coming in and situational stuff, kind of like I did with Alabama last year. And we have a really talented pitching staff, and like they're all legit. It's crazy. Like, I mean, the whole fall we had to hit off all of them, and it kind of sucked because they're so good. And so it's just like, thanks guys. But yeah, so with them, I mean, I could be throwing, but I'm going to be able to help the team a lot offensively. And so that's kind of primarily what I've been focusing on lately. So yeah.
Do you prefer hitting? Is that where you feel more comfortable?
I wouldn't say I'm more comfortable. I like all of hitting, outfield, pitching, all of it. But I mean, hitting's probably my favorite out of the three. I wouldn't say I'm more comfortable in one or the other, but hitting a home run is pretty fun. So if I had to pick, I'd say that's my favorite. But yeah, I'm pretty comfortable at the plate, I think, at this point. But yeah.
Cool.
You talked about how you came in a situational role against Alabama. Is it weird facing these programs that sent you offers? You're probably seeing coaches on the other side that you've had meetings with and everything like that. Does that ever kind of sit in your head a little bit? Like, yeah, I just struck out your players that you brought, or anything such as that?
I mean, for the most part, all of the schools that I had offers with and stuff, when I did say no, it was amicable with a few. So, I mean, it's not like it's like a hi, I beat you, like I told you so kind of deal. But I mean, it is pretty cool. So like I had a pretty good relationship with Tim Walton, the coach at Florida. Mm-hmm. So like every time we play them, it's always, I mean, we're girls, but it's like a gentleman's rivalry. Like it's not like we're at each other, like ripping each other's throats out, like I want to kick your butt. It's more like give me your best, I'll give you mine, and like let's go at it and shake hands at the end. So I mean, like after games, like he'd tell me like, hey, like nice swing, Cass, like stuff like that. So nothing's ever been tense, I guess. So I mean, for the most part, the programs that I do see and like that I've played against, like it's not like anything was left on bad terms. So, but it is always kind of fun because beating Bama is fun, or Florida or whoever, because it's always fun. But
winning's fun in general.
Yeah.
But I have to ask you one more before we hop into rapid fire. You wear number 70.
I do.
What's up with that? That's not a very common number that you see quite a bit, and I'm sure a lot of people.
Tell you about this?
I think you have, but you haven't told the world about
for the viewers. Yeah.
I just feel like we had to have talked about this in
Oh,
English
I know you and I
at
had
some
to have talked
point.
about it in high school because I think I asked, and yeah.
Probably. Yeah, so I've worn number 70 with the exception of high school because obviously it's not a common number, so I'm not just gonna have that lying around. But I have worn it, I think, like ever since I've gotten to pick a number in a jersey since I was like 9. So my dad played football at the University of Miami back in the 80s, 82 to 86 or something around that area. But he was there for their first national championship. So my dad has a ring too, and he was number 70. So I picked it for him, and I've just kept it ever since. It's worked pretty well for me, so I figured why not.
So winning's just in the family.
Oh, geez.
All right, Matt. Any additional questions before we hop into rapid fire?
No, I think I'm good.
All righty, Cassidy.
Rapid
So
fire.
I got a list of questions here. It looks like about 7 questions. Not all of them are going to pertain to softball, but some of them will.
Okay.
All you got to do is just give me the first answer that comes to your mind.
Okay.
All right. Your go-to pregame meal.
Smoothie.
All righty. Your favorite fast food chain.
Chick-fil-A.
Oh, yeah. If 70 wasn't an option, what are you going with?
I don't know. I've never picked anything. My high school number is 13. We'll go with that. 13.
There we go. Give me a favorite cartoon character.
SpongeBob.
Nice.
3 artists that are in the Cassidy Davis pregame playlist.
Post Malone, Rage Against the Machine, and what's another one? Those are the main 2. I love Post Malone. And then the last song I listen to before I get off the bus or I get out of my car is Bulls on Parade. It's like a superstition
There
thing.
you
of mine.
go.
Nice.
Love that being a USF alum. I like that.
Yeah, so it's always Bulls on Parade. I don't know, maybe like Meg Thee Stallion or Cardi B, something with a little beat to it.
If you could have any talent that didn't pertain to sports, what would you like to be able to do?
Sing.
Yeah. All right. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
can't sing at all.
And what would you rather do? Would you rather throw a no-no or hit a walk-off?
Hit a walk-off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All righty. That's the end of my rapid fire. So Cassidy, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure to meet up yet again and to have you on the podcast. Brought some great entertaining stories and answers. So appreciate having you here and best of luck going forward in the upcoming season.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So for Cassidy Davis and for Matt, I've been Will Polston. This has been GMs for Hire. Thank you all for watching. Go ahead and check out Cassidy. Her socials will be in the descriptions down below. And go ahead and keep an eye on Florida State softball. But until then, we'll catch you guys in the next one. Take it easy.